Alright guys, we're back with some more fantasy baseball content, and here, I'm going to help you go through your waiver wire so you can pick out the best and most important players to add to your teams. This is crunch time. This is it. You guys playing in matchup-based points leagues, we have a few more weeks till the playoffs. You guys playing in rotisserie leagues, we got like a month left to make up ground in these standings. Every single move that we're making this time of year has added importance. It should have added scrutiny. We're on top of our games right now. So hopefully we can get ourselves in position to win the championships we all desire so greatly. With that, for this time of year, the championship push, I'm opening up memberships to the channel. You guys will see the join button down there next to the subscribe button. $3.99 a month. I'm answering every single question you have for the rest of the season. I'm going to keep that going through the off season, through next season. I think I'm going to start doing live chats on Mondays and also just rolling questions. Whatever you guys need to know, any lineup, any trade, any move, any ad drop, any pitching matchup, I got you covered. $3.99 a month. Click down there, become a member of the channel. Also, if you're not yet subscribed, please subscribe right now. But you guys can get any questions you want answered moving forward right here. But all right, now let's get into it. The first player on the big list this week is Jacob Marcy, outfielder on the Marlins. I think Marcy is the first player all season to be a member of the big list in 2 consecutive weeks. You kind of can't talk about fantasy baseball right now without mentioning Marcy because he is taking the league by storm. Last week, I told you guys to pick him up. Looked like a contact-oriented speed guy who's getting tons of playing time. Could be a help, but I didn't know what the ceiling exactly looked like. I'm kind of throwing that out the window right now. You have to get this guy on your team no matter what. League type, shape, size. You got to do whatever you can to get him on here. There's no one hotter than Jacob Marcy in Major League Baseball right now. He had an unbelievable game this past Wednesday where he socked 2 home runs, had 7 RBIs, and stole a base, while having 4 hard hit balls in that game, 2 of which were hit harder than 105 miles per hour. As of recording this video, on Friday, August 15th, Marcy's played 2 weeks of Major League Baseball, and he has a .395 average, 500 on base percentage, 791 slugging percentage, 3 home runs, 6 stolen bases, 13 RBIs, nearly the same number of walks as strikeouts, and an elite barrel rate, an elite hard hit rate, an elite chase rate. Like, I get it. I know it's only been 2 weeks, but this is literally the greatest baseball savant player page I think I've ever seen in my entire life. Jacob Marcy right now, through 2 weeks of his Major League career, is downright unstoppable. In terms of all of Major League Baseball, again, since he debuted on August 1st, he has the highest WRC+, the highest batting average, second highest on base percentage, second highest slugging percentage, the highest OPS, and he's tied for first in stolen bases. This is literally one of the greatest starts to a career we've ever seen. Sure, I know it's only 2 weeks, but when a player is this hot, you don't really think about anything else. You put him in your lineup, and you just take it where it goes. I told you guys this about Colson Montgomery a few weeks ago. He stayed blazing hot. Jacob Marcy right now is on fire. He needs to be in your lineups as soon as humanly possible. He just has to be. Next up is Cade Horton, starting pitcher on the Cubs. Horton's another guy who's been on this list a couple times this year, but he's had a really great stretch over his last month of play. With a 29 scoreless inning streak since the All-Star break that was just snapped in his last start on Wednesday. But funny enough, that scoreless streak didn't get snapped while he was on the mound. He left that game with 2 outs in the 6th inning, and Andrew Kittredge came in with a runner on base and gave up an RBI double, which is kind of funny that Horton's scoreless streak ends when he's not even on the mound, but he won his 4th straight decision in that start against the Blue Jays, and now his full season ERA is down to 3.07. So when a guy goes on a hot stretch like this, we kind of have to ask ourselves, has anything changed? What's different? What's going on right here? And for Horton, like a lot of young pitchers, when he came to the show, he didn't really have the best approach for left-handed batters as a sweeper-heavy right-handed pitcher, but now over the last few months, he's clearly gaining some comfortability with both his changeup and his curveball. Those 2 pitches, along with a very unique fastball, which we're going to talk about in a second here, that's now given him enough to get left-handed batters out consistently. And he's always been able to get right-handed batters out consistently because that fastball plus amazing sweeper, that's cake. But like I mentioned, Horton has a unique fastball, and it makes him a bit of a strange pitcher to evaluate because that fastball, when it leaves his hand, kind of acts more like a cutter. It has lots of natural cut on it, and it moves somewhat sharply to his glove side. Of any starting pitcher in the league, Horton's 4-seam fastball has the 2nd most natural cut on it. The only guy with more is Sonny Gray. That natural cut that comes from a supination that Horton does, that's a big baseball term. Supination is basically when you're better at moving your wrist inward towards your body than there's pronators, changeup guys, who are better when the wrist goes out. That crazy supination that makes that fastball cut is a huge reason why Horton's sweeper is so good. Similarly with Sonny Gray, he's another guy with an amazing sweeper. But at the same time, that supination has made it a little bit more difficult for him to develop any consistency with that changeup and curveball, like I said at the top of the segment. Lately, though, he's been able to kind of branch all those pitches off each other by being better at locating his fastball that has a lot of natural cut on the outer half against lefties. He's basically using that pitch now, that primary pitch against them, as kind of like a backdoor cutter in a way, where he's picking off that edge, picking off that edge, picking off that edge, trying to make them make late decisions on that. He's able to do that because that fastball is now tunneling really well off of the changeup and the curveball, all kind of being focused on throwing to the same spot and then all flaying off each other. It's still not the best profile. He's definitely not my favorite pitcher in the league. He still doesn't get tons of strikeouts. It's ticked up though. When his first 2 months as a starter, it was only like a 15%, 17% strikeout rate. Now more recently, it's up about 24, 25% strikeout rate. That is a big increase for him with fewer walks of late as well. That's how he's keeping these runs off the board every single start. And I'm really confident just saying that he is good. I don't think he's great. I think he can be great if he keeps getting better and better at maintaining those secondaries. But right now, he is good, and he's on this list because I think he's still being overlooked in a lot of shallow leagues. Next up, we have another starting pitcher. It's Christian Javier in the Houston Astros. Very starting pitcher heavy big list this week, and for good reason. We got a lot of stuff going on with these pitchers. Javier especially, who made his long-awaited return this past week off of Tommy John surgery. And he looked really good in that first start back, going 5 innings, striking out 5 batters, allowing 3 hits, 2 earned runs, 2 walks, and forcing 10 whiffs against a pretty good Red Sox lineup. And kind of the coolest thing, maybe ironic about Javier, is that his command wasn't even really that good, but he was still very effective. That gives me a lot of confidence for him moving forward, especially because when he did come back, his fastball looked excellent. Christian Javier is always a guy who's relied on a really, really good 4-seam fastball with a lot of carry, a lot of ride, a lot of hop at the top of the zone. Seeing that pitch to the around 93 and 94 miles an hour and still have that great same shape, that gives me a lot of confidence that we're going to see a similar version of Christian Javier that we saw a few years ago. Other than that though, we did see a lot of changes in this start from Christian Javier after taking this long layoff from Tommy John surgery. First off, along with that 4-seam fastball, now he's throwing a sinker. The shape is totally fine, but that's a really great weapon for him to have to take some pressure off of that 4-seam fastball against right-handed batters. On top of that, he's really changed the shape of his changeup. The pitch is a lot firmer, coming in about 2 ticks harder, and has much more pronounced vertical movement and much less arm side run. That's one of the pitches that he really struggled to command, but that makes sense. 1, the first start back in the major leagues after surgery, and 2, a pitch that had a totally new movement profile than the last time we saw him. He was so comfortable with it though and confident in it that it was his primary pitch against left-handed batters. That's something I'm going to be watching intently when Javier makes his next few starts. He also threw many more knuckle curveballs to left-handed batters, so it does seem like with that fastball at the top, he kind of wants to vary his pitch usage off of it. Then against righties, he wants to mix in that sinker just to give him something else to think about. I like all these changes a lot. I like Javier as a pitcher. I trust the Astros at situations like this. I think Christian Javier is a great add right now in basically all league types and sizes. Next up, we have another Astros pitcher. It's Brian Abreu, who looks like he's now the closer in Houston. After some very bad injury news with Josh Hader, where he was held out of their game on Monday, then he went on the IL with what they said was shoulder discomfort, and then it came out on Friday that he has a left shoulder capsule sprain. There's obviously different degrees of sprains, but sprains do mean small tears, and the full tear of your capsule and your shoulder is a really big deal. This kind of sprain is the same injury that kept Kodai Senga out for about 4 months last season, from the beginning of spring training all the way to the middle of summer. So we know the Astros are going to be very careful with Hader, and now they've already said he's going to be shut down for 3 weeks. So he's basically out for the rest of the fantasy baseball season, almost no doubt about that. So now that makes Brian Abreu the closer in Houston. This is a huge deal because 1, the Astros are a really good team, so there's going to be a lot of save opportunities, and 2, because just anyway, Brian Abreu is one of the best relief pitchers in baseball, and he has been for years now. Since 2023, when he took over as the main 8th inning guy in Houston, he has the 2nd most innings pitched for any relief pitcher in baseball, the 6th lowest ERA at 2.25, the 8th highest strikeout rate at 33.9%, and he's also top 20 in Sierra, strikeout minus walk rate, and he has a 2.49 playoff ERA. Bottom line, this guy is nails. He's been unhittable basically his entire career. He has a great fastball, sits around 97 miles an hour with good life at the top of the zone, and an absolutely unbelievably devastating slider that he will break off over and over and over and over again and just leave hitters completely in the dust. He instantly becomes one of the 5 or 10 best, most reliable, most trustworthy closers in all fantasy baseball. And if you're in a situation where you desperately need saves, he could swing your entire league. He's that good of a reliever, and this role is that good for him right now. All right, now the last guy on the big list is Nolan McLean, starting pitcher on the Mets. I'm recording this video about Friday evening, and I know McLean is making his Major League debut on Saturday afternoon against the Mariners. This might be a Saturday afternoon upload. This might be a Sunday afternoon upload. I don't know yet. I don't know the schedule yet, but I'm going to talk about what I know about McLean before this start. I might have to go back with the power of editing to fix some of this stuff up after. But as of right now, McLean's a very, very exciting pitcher making his debut, but there's a lot of polarizing aspects about his game I want to talk to you guys about. First up, stuff-wise, he has claimed to being the best starting pitching prospect in baseball. Eno Sarris shouted him out on his Twitter on Friday, saying that just in terms of pure stuff plus, of all the top pitching prospects in the league, McLean is the highest by far. It's a big check mark. And Lance Brozdowski doubled down on that, agreeing with Eno, saying that the level of spin that McLean can get on both his sweeper and his curveball, plus the wide array of pitches he has coming off of them, makes him, again, have claim to the best pitching prospect in baseball. I think that's all true. I think that's all great. McLean does, right now, the second he walks into the major leagues, probably have one of the most impressive splitters of anyone out there. And that, plus the curveball, which is a new pitch, going to talk about that in a second, they have some of the best spin rates of either of those two pitches, sweepers and curveballs, compared to any other pitcher in the majors. The way this guy can spin the ball is special. Not many others in the league can do it. I think that's going to be a big reason of the eventual major league success I know Nolan McLean will have. But in terms of exactly right now, his first couple starts of his rookie season, there are some things that he could struggle with. Mainly getting left-handed batters out. On the season at AAA, he's got great results. He had a 2.59 ERA and 27% strikeout rate. With a 10% walk rate, we don't love that, but with a 27% strikeout rate, it's definitely palatable. But then if you break things down for how McLean fared against right-handed batters and left-handed batters alike, it was way better against righties because, again, his whole thing is that sweeper, and he has a sinker he developed this year to go off that. Those two pitches together decimate right-handed batters. But then with that, Nolan McLean's played a lot of catch-up with his repertoire. Maybe not catch-up, it's just he's developed a lot very quickly. He was a two-way player all the way until last year when the Mets drafted out of Oklahoma State. This is the first year of his life he's been a full-time pitcher. With that, along with the sweeper and the fastball, I told you he's developed that sinker two-seamer thing now. Good for the righties. He has a kick change working for the lefties. He has that big, nice curveball for the lefties. Has a really high spin rate. And he's got a cutter, too. All combined, I think those pitches are good enough to get left-handed batters out. I just don't know if they're good enough to get left-handed batters out right now, because when he was in AAA, he walked 30 left-handed batters versus striking 52 of them percent out. That was good for a 13% walk rate and a 22% strikeout rate with a 1.51 whip against the lefties. That does not look anything like how he fared against righties, where he had an 8% walk rate and a 32% strikeout rate for the 0.85 whip. Again, it's just very different right now for McLean, lefties versus righties. I also know the Mets are going to be careful with him. I don't know how many quality starts you're going to get out of Nolan McLean. I don't know how many 6 or 7 inning outings, probably 1 or 2 at the most. I'm excited to see what he has. I love the Mets and I love McLean as a prospect, but I think that there could be some problems with lefties early on unless he can really command that changeup, curveball, and cutter better than he was able to command it in AAA. But that leaves him definitely as more of a high variance kind of upside play as a back-end rotation guy. Now that was the end of the big list, but just like every single week on this waiver wire video, I now have some breakout sections for you guys that specifically play in shallow leagues, some deeper leagues. I have the stash report, I have the closer report, and then players to drop. But starting out with players that are not widely rostered enough in shallow leagues. And I'm using roster ship rates on ESPN for this. First up is Xander Bogaerts at 76% rostered. I think that the world is still sleeping on how good of a season Xander Bogaerts is having because of how bad and how many jokes about him were made on Twitter in the first few months of the year. Over his last 2 months of play, since June 15th, he has a 311 batting average, 367 on-base percentage, and 505 slugging percentage with 7 home runs and 6 stolen bases. That's one of the most valuable second basemen in all fantasy baseball. I know even 76% roster, that is pretty high. That should be like 95%. That's how good he is compared to the rest of the field with second baseman. Also, next up, I've been banging this drum for a few weeks now. Michael Harris, guys. Michael Harris of the Braves. Only 69% rostered. He's got over a 1,000 OPS in his last month of play. Braves just played a 3-game series against the Mets. Michael Harris had 8 hits. The guy is on fire right now. Get him in your lineups while you can. Then another one I say every single week, Edward Cabrera, 50% rostered in the Marlins. He's just so good. I know he didn't have that good of a start this week, but he is so good. Every 10-team league, you guys have to find a spot for him. Similarly to Harris and Xander Bogaerts, Christian Walker, a guy who did not have a good start to the season, has really come alive over the last few months. 49% roster rate, that's too low. His new teammate in Houston, Carlos Correa, 44% roster rate. He's been hitting since he got to the Astros. He's now getting third base eligibility. It's a great guy to put in the roster. I know he's ready to get hot. Another guy who had a terrible start this year, Xavier Edwards, 35% roster rate. I left him off my initial second base rankings this year because I didn't like him very much. A lot of you guys, first, gave me some flack for that. Then 2, went back to those rankings in April, May, and June. Gave me some credit for not including him. Now, you guys should be mad at me because he's having one of the best 2-month stretches in all of baseball. Entering play on June 1st, he had just a 629 OPS, and he really wasn't doing anything besides stealing a couple bases here and there. Since June 1st, he's a 337 batting average, 387 on-base percentage, 446 slugging percentage, the highest batting average in the entire league since June 1st, by 10 points over Nick Kurtz. He's the number 1 second baseman in 5x5 leagues since the All-Star break. He needs to be rostered in way more than 35% of leagues right now. Then we have Roman Anthony at 31%. I don't know what else this guy needs to do to be rostered in every single league. He's tearing the cover off the ball. He's hitting near the top of a great Red Sox lineup. Unbelievable player. Ramon Laureano, 26%, nearing a 900 OPS on the season. Like, how good does a guy have to hit to get on your guys' rosters? Then the last 2, Will Warren, 22%. He was bad, then he was really good, then he was kind of bad. Now he's found the command. He's kind of good again. So get him on your roster if you need pitching help in your 12-team leagues. And lastly, Isaac Collins, 21%. Playing at like an MVP pace over the last 2 months. He's probably going to win National League Rookie of the Year. The guy's unstoppable right now. Next up, we have the stash list. Players who are either still in the minor leagues or rehabbing injuries that you guys should consider adding to your rosters if you have an open spot. And I, of course, have to start with the leader of the stash list every single week this season. I mentioned him here, Bubba Chandler. This is it, right, Pirates? He keeps his rookie eligibility if he comes up anytime after August 15th. It's after August 15th. Where's Bubba Chandler? Same as Samuel Basallo on the Orioles. I don't actually think that Basallo is getting called up, but if he does get called up, he has an offensive profile similar to Nick Hurt, so you got to find a spot for him. Then we have 2 prospects I think are much more likely to be called up soon. Dylan Beavers also on the Orioles. They're trying out literally like a AA outfield in the major leagues right now, so Beavers at AAA is better than every single guy they have playing major league ball right now. He's got power, he's got speed, good swing decisions. He'd be an instant impact fantasy guy. And then Kyle Harrison, the big piece from the Rafael Devers trade, going from the Giants to the Red Sox. Red Sox have been working with his stuff in the minor leagues a little bit. He looks a little better. He looks more consistent. They don't have an obvious spot in the rotation right now, but they can easily make a spot in their rotation. So if Harrison does get the call, he's interesting. Then we got a few injury stashes. Jack Caglianone's working his way back from a hamstring strain. You guys know how I feel about Caglianone. I don't care about those counting stats. I do not care about the low average, low OPS. I know the potential and the talent he has, how hard he hits the ball. He's smacking the ball in AAA in his rehab assignment right now. He'll probably be back this week. Good guy trying to sneak on your roster, trying to catch lightning in a bottle. Then Kyle Bradish and Bryce Miller, 2 great pitchers. Bryce Miller just had a great rehab start. Kyle Bradish is not getting good results in the rehab, but if those guys do come back, they're talented enough to really go on a run through the rest of the season. And Luis Garcia. Just talked about how excited I was about Christian Javier's return to the Astros. Garcia's 1 step behind him, just got to 80 pitches in a recent rehab start. Probably pitches for the Astros this coming week. Next up, we have everyone's favorite new segment in the waiver wire video. It's the closer report. I already talked to you guys about Brian Abreu. He is the absolute holy grail closer to add this point in the season. But a couple other teams have some turbulent situations right now, so I want to shout them out. First, it's the battle right now between Will Vest and Kyle Finnegan in Detroit. After they traded for Finnegan from the Nationals, he got a bunch of save opportunities. Now in his last 2 appearances, he's pitched the 8th inning, and Vest got a save a couple games ago. But also Finnegan came in the 8th inning, not against the top of the order, against the middle of the order. So I don't really know. It seems like they're just going to split time 50-50 after we thought Finnegan had won the job. So kind of nukes both of their values in fantasy. Another one I've been getting a lot of questions about recently is the battle between Robert Suarez and Mason Miller. I just think that the Padres are holding steadfast with Robert Suarez as the closer. I know that he's not as good of a reliever as Mason Miller, not even close, but he's still getting every single 9th inning. Mason Miller did get 1 save, but it came the day after Robert Suarez worked 2 innings. So I think that's the only reason he got the save. Robert Suarez is the 9th inning guy, and Mason Miller is more of the weapon they call out of the bullpen when they need him most. Which for fantasy, again, very annoying. It probably feels sacrilege to try and drop Mason Miller this time of year, but you guys might have to do it if you need that spot. Then a couple other fun ones to shout out. Again, for some reason, I don't know why the Braves didn't trade Raisel Iglesias at the deadline as a guy in an expiring contract for a team that had no chance to do anything, but he's been saving tons of games. So if someone did drop him and he's just hanging on your waiver wire, Raisel Iglesias is a great closer to add right now. And then Justin Topa, the Twins. They're not going to win many games, but he's getting the save opportunities there right now. We thought it could be Cole Sands. He got blown up. We thought it could be Erasmo Ramirez. He got a save, but hasn't pitched that well either. Topa seems like the guy there. He's closed out their last 2 wins. He's the guy if you need saves in deep leagues. Now we have the deep league ads. Starting out with Jameson Taillon. He's expected to come back this week for the Cubs. He's steady. He's reliable. Cubs have a pretty easy schedule the rest of the season. Jameson Taillon is a great guy to sneak past your league mates, get him on your team, just be like a nice cog towards the back of your rotation. Then a couple other guys like that. Ryan Bergard. I talked about him a little bit in each of the last couple videos. There's something cool going on in Bergard right now where he has a really high spin efficiency fastball and cool horizontal breakers off it. I want to see some more good results and more starts before I actually add him to the big list, but I'm interested in Bergard right now. Matt Shaw, also on the Cubs, has kind of stiff-armed Willie Castro after thinking that Castro was going to take his job after the trade deadline. Shaw's back to hitting homers. He's stolen a handful of bases, at like 2 bases in the last couple weeks, but that helps you guys in deep leagues. So while Shaw has a starting spot, in real life, he probably could have a roster spot in your guys' deep leagues. Moving on, we have Blaze Alexander, who is on fire, just like his name Blaze, in this last couple of weeks of the Diamondbacks. But Blaze always kind of does this. He just doesn't really have the best approach in the world. If he does this for another week, I'll add him to the big list. But while he's hot, I just wanted to mention him. Owen Casey, big-time prospect, was called up by the Cubs this week. If he had a full-time job, I would be putting him on the big list, but he just kind of doesn't. I think he's going to play here and there, be a pinch hitter, someone to help them move around a little bit in the lineup in and out of it. He's got big-time power. There's good tools there, but it's hard for me to advocate you guys adding for him if he's only playing a few days a week at the big league level. On the flip side of that, a prospect who's gotten called up without a lot of fanfare, Kyle Karros, third baseman on the Rockies. A lot of contact, not a lot of power, but in Coors Field, I keep telling you guys about all the home games the Rockies have. A lot of contact's a great thing. So look at Kyle Karras if you need corner infield, third base help in deeper leagues. Another guy who was called up recently, CJ Kayfus. Another guy, I thought he'd have more power. Doesn't really have the best bat speed. Hasn't made the most contact so far, but I still like him. I still like the hit tool. I still like the pull power. I like Kayfus, but he's not hit well enough yet exactly to be on the big list. So keep an eye on your deeper leagues. And then moving on here, a few other guys. Miguel Andujar starting every day for the Reds. Bam box, easy plays to hit, and he's functionally hitting right now. I'm keeping an eye on Troy Melton and the Tigers. I love his stuff, but they're just being a little bit fluid with his role. He made a 5-inning start recently. Then afterwards, AJ Hinch was like, he's probably coming out of the bullpen next time out. The Tigers are really good at this fluidity with their pitchers who are on the fringe, being like, give us 2 innings, give us 3 innings, give us 4 innings. Seems like it's much more fun for real-life baseball than fantasy baseball, but I'm still keeping an eye on Melton because if they do unleash him for 5 or 6 innings at a time, he's going to be nasty. I keep mentioning Jordan Walker, Dalton Varsho, and Spencer Horwitz. Hitters who can compile, put up some good stats with physical tools, who are playing every day in their teams right now. JP Sears, Michael King just went back on the injured list for the Padres. I know they called up Randy Vasquez in the corresponding move, but that was because Vasquez is more on schedule with his last start in AAA to pitch this weekend against the Dodgers. Sears is not. He pitched in the middle of the week. I think Sears gets that rotation spot next week for Vasquez to fill in for a few weeks for Michael King. And then lastly, weird one, Bob Seymour. Crazy raw power. He's kind of like a light version of Spencer Jones, just got called up by the Rays. I don't know how much he's going to play. I don't know how much contact he's going to make, but in like the deepest of leagues, like sure, why not? And now lastly, I've given you guys a lot of players to add, so I have to give you some to drop. First up, Chase Burns, my king. Flexor strain on the IL. You have to think his season's over. I'm kind of worried about a bigger surgery now. I'm worried about Chase Burns for next year. Josh Hader, talking about the beginning too. That capsule sprain is a really big deal. If that thing pops, he's cooked. The Astros are going to be very, very careful with him. Both to not let that thing pop and make sure they can have him for the postseason. So be it. Spencer Strider has been stinking. He's been horrible. The velocity's trending down again. The fastball's getting lit on fire. If you guys are in a really shallow league, I don't hate the idea of dropping Strider, but look at the upcoming matchups. Paul Goldschmidt's losing playing time. Can't really move anymore. Drop him on the Yankees. Nick Castellanos looks horrible in the Phillies. Clay Holmes looks terrible in the Mets. And then Brendan Donovan. He's missing some games with a hand thing. The Cardinals aren't exactly playing him every day anymore. Just not kind of guys. Him and Castellanos, the kind of guys you like having on your rosters as roster filler beginning of the year because you hope to get everyday playing time. If they're not doing that, or in Castellanos' case, not mashing lefties like he always has, they're not really functional anymore. But thank you guys so much. That was the waiver wire video this week. Again, to remind you guys, channel memberships are now open. $3.99 a month. Click the join button down below. I will answer all of your questions about fantasy baseball anytime. We're doing a live chat on Monday. Fantasy baseball Q&A right there in the chat. Probably Monday around 11, 12 a.m., noon, around that time. I'll put out a notification on the YouTube channel either Sunday night or Monday morning to confirm that time. But thank you guys all so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so. I'll see you next time.